Hey y'all, welcome back to Millennial Black Conservatives as I bring you real news, not fake news. If this is your first time here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Today, we're diving into a decision that has the media and the crying Democrats, and liberals upset. CBS fired Stephen Colbert. Yay! Let's give a round of applause because that crappy show should have been off. But anyway, we're going to stick to the facts here, right? The truth. And we don't get emotional over here. So some say it's political, some say it's petty revenge. But let's set the record straight. CBS made the right call. This had nothing to do with Trump and everything to do with the one thing that actually matters in business. Can somebody guess what that is? Can you put it down in the comments before I say it? That's right, money. Let's walk through why this show was bleeding CBS dry, and why the network was absolutely justified in pulling the plug. Uh, 50 million a year for what? So let's start with the numbers, okay? Now, we're not going to look at fake news. We're going to look at the actual truth, right? So, according to reports, the Late Show with Stephen Colbert was losing CBS between 40 million and 50 million dollars a year. Let me say that again. The late night show, the Late Show, I'm sorry, with Stephen Colbert was losing CBS between 40 million and 50 million dollars per year. That's not unsustainable. That's a financial sinkhole. Who can sustain themselves if you're losing between 40 to 50 million dollars a year? See, now I think Stephen Colbert wish he had kept his mouth shut, because now people see the real reason is you're not making any money. You're losing the company money. But let's get back to the numbers. And despite being number one in its time slot, ad dollars were nowhere to be found. You know what that tells me? Viewership doesn't mean profitability anymore. In Colbert's case, his brand became so politically charged that he was losing mass market appeal. See, you can't come across as a late night show that was fun, energetic, and you turn it into a political nightmare. Nobody wants to hear you bash Trump all night, every night. You're going to lose a huge market that's out there that's no longer going to listen, because every time we turn on, it's something about Trump. It's a joke about the president that isn't funny. And honestly, I never thought he was funny anyway, but he's been on television. So, again, in Colbert's case, his brand became so politically charged that he was losing mass market appeal. Advertisers don't want to risk attaching their products to divisive commentary, even if you're winning in the ratings game. But he was losing money. Late night's losing money. But let's talk about it. Colbert was toxic to advertisers. Here's the cold truth. Late night TV is dying. This is now, we're in the age of pre-streaming, pre-TikTok world. The audience is aging. Ad revenues are tanking. And Colbert's show, while still pulling in 2 million views, was becoming unmarketable. It was just unmarketable. He's just not marketable. It's not what people want to hear. People are not listening to that rhetoric that's coming out of his mouth all the time. No one's listening. So why is that? Because it wasn't funny anymore. I said it earlier. It was political theater. Night after night, Colbert used his platform to bash half the country. That's fine if you're on MSNBC, but CBS is a network with advertisers who want wide range, not culture wars. So you can't get on a late night television and you're entertaining. And it's just like any other show that you watch, and get on there and you're insulting half the country. How do you think you're going to sustain yourself? One political party can't sustain your show, as we can see with the 40 to $50 million that you're losing every single year, and you want someone to keep you on, to keep the same rhetoric that you have going. No, no one wants to hear that. No one with money wants to hear your one-sided commentary. So insiders even said Colbert gets no advertising. That's the death sentence. So if you're not getting major advertising dollars, how do you, Stephen Colbert, plan to stay on? How do you think your show is going to be funded if you are not pulling in advertising dollars? Your show was already bleeding. And frankly, you should have just kept your mouth closed instead of attacking your network. But we're going to get into that as well because they originally didn't come out and say anything. You made this a political issue. No one else did. And so now CBS is just having to tell the truth. The show sucked. It was tanking. We make no money. We lose money. So how are we going to be a profitable company if we're losing 40 to $50 million? So this is business, not Trump. Let's tackle the elephant in the room. Was this a political decision? See, the left, the Democrats and liberals, is outraged because CBS settled a $16 million lawsuit with Donald Trump, then canceled Colbert's show just days later after he made jokes about it. I mean, but ask yourself this: if Colbert was making CBS money, would he still be on air? I'm gonna just let you think about it. You go into the comment section and you tell me, would he still be on air? And the answer, the response is absolutely. Networks don't cancel profitable shows to appease politicians. They cancel losing shows to save their bottom line. And it makes perfect sense. And let's not forget, CBS parent company Paramount is trying to close a $8 billion deal with Skydance. Every executive from New York to LA is reviewing spreadsheets, not watching Colbert's monologue. So you have to go back and think about this. You all are getting upset because um, 60 Minutes adjusted a clip of Trump and created a false narrative. He sued, CBS settled for $16 million, rightfully so. You all are saying freedom of speech and the right to speak, yes, but you don't have the right to put out false information. If you're calling yourself a journalist, if you're calling yourself the news, Trump had every right to sue, and CBS had to settle the lawsuit. And they did what they were supposed to do. They were the ones that was incorrect, allowing their 60 minutes to go off and say something egregious or just a clip to have something egregious said about Trump. And then their decision to get rid of Colbert, well, he attacked them. He made jokes. So you're going to joke and say something inappropriate about the person that's feeding you, that's supplying your livelihood. But even outside of that, even outside of everything that Colbert has said, there's a decline in late night TV. See, Colbert's firing isn't about silencing free speech. It's a symbol of the fall of traditional late night TV. See, if you look at uh, uh, numbers and stats and not just build this on emotions as the liberal media has constantly done, back in 2018, CBS late night shows pulled in over 439 million in ad revenue. In 2024, do you know what that number is? And this is not based on emotions, this is based on facts that can be pulled. That number was cut in half to only $220 million. You can't justify multi-million-dollar salaries, massive production costs, and a full studio crew when the numbers don't add up. So late night shows in general has lost over $500,000. And the late night show itself from CBS just lost $200 million. You went from 439 million to 220 million. Viewers have moved on. They're watching YouTube, TikTok, Spotify podcasts. Late night is now a melting ice cube. And CBS did what any responsible company would do. They cut it loose. And let's just look at it. Colbert, what did he do? He burned the bridge himself. Okay, so let's not pretend that Colbert didn't pour gasoline on the fire. After CBS legal team settled a lawsuit with Trump over a deceptively edited, again, as I said, 60-minute interview, Colbert ranted on air. I am offended. I don't know if anything would ever repair my trust in this company. But just taking a stab at it, I'd say 16 million would help. You don't bite the hand that feeds you, especially when that hand is losing tens of millions trying to keep your show on life support. He alienated his bosses, advertisers, and half the country again. CBS didn't fire Colbert for being political. They fired him because he became a liability. He's an asset, not he's not an asset. He's a liability. He doesn't bring value. He brings problems. And so when you're running a company, and this is just business 101, you have to make sure that everything that is aligned with your business is going to be profitable. If you're losing money, in my opinion, Stephen Colbert should have said a word. You should have just kept your mouth shut and say the company has made different decisions. You shouldn't have commented on the $16 million lawsuit that was just justifiably paid to Donald Trump, and it should have been, and it should have been more, in my opinion. This had nothing to do with CBS and Skydance wanting to come together, wanting the merger. This has everything to do with 60 Minutes, again, producing a false narrative against Donald Trump. And whenever Trump wants to defend himself, he's the problem, not everyone else. Colbert, you didn't have to say anything, but you wanted to speak out. You wanted to show your bosses that you were bigger than life, only for them to have to tell us, no, 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 no. This isn't political. This is money. We're losing again 40 to $50 million. What a failure, Stephen Colbert. You're losing 40 to $50 million, and you have the audacity to talk about a payout of 16 million when you're bleeding this company dry. So let's just say this and let's tell the truth. CBS made the right call. This wasn't about Trump. This wasn't about censorship. It was about accountability, economics, and the collapse of an outdated entertainment model. Colbert was expensive. He was polarizing. And worst of all, he wasn't profitable. That's it. CBS made a rational business decision in a media landscape that's changing fast. Late night hosts who want to stay relevant need to evolve or they'll be next. Jimmy Kimmel. If you agree CBS was right to cancel The Late Show, hit the like button, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk real numbers, not emotional spin. And to the media crying foul, maybe it's time to learn something about business. Again, thanks for watching, and until next time, stay curious, stay informed, stay sharp, and never be afraid to speak the truth.